Trading at Schwab is now powered by Ameritrade, bringing you an expanding library of education with even more ways to sharpen your trading skills. Access new online courses, insightful webcasts, articles, engaging videos, and more, all curated just for traders. Plus, guided learning paths with content designed to fit your unique interests. No sifting to find exactly what you need, so you can spend your time learning to trade brilliantly. Learn more at schwab.com/trading.
Have you ever stood on the deck of a ship, watching one shoreline disappear before the next one comes into view? This is Summit After the Storm podcast, and I'm Bart Wilbanks. After leaving Rome, our family took a train across southern Italy to the port of Bari. But the adventure wasn't over. We still had to cross the Adriatic Sea to reach Greece. Even boarding the ferry was an adventure. We had walked over a mile to get to the port, and once we got there, at the port, we walked nearly a mile, weaving our way around dozens of semi-trucks that were loading onto the ship. At times, it felt like we were playing a real-life game of Frogger, waiting for the right moment to cross safely before another truck rolled by. Then I looked up. The ferry was enormous. I had pictured something modest, but it looked much more like a cruise ship than the ferries that I had imagined in my head. We boarded through the same lower level where all those trucks were parking, then climbed flight after flight of stairs and escalators until we finally reached the passenger decks. I had booked a cabin for the six of us. Now, calling it cozy would have been generous. The room had two narrow single beds with barely enough space between them to squeeze through. Now, above each of those beds was another folded bunk bed. You folded it down. There was one small ladder in the room that had to share between the beds. So the girls took the top bunks. Our two boys shared one lower bed, and Amanda and I shared the other. Now, the bed was so small, to give Amanda enough room to lay comfortably, I spent most of the night sleeping on my side. Let's just say I didn't get the best night's sleep. Before turning in, though, we explored the ship. Now, there wasn't nearly as much to do as on a cruise ship, but there was a restaurant, a small shop, even a casino. The kids had far more fun than we did. We climbed as high as we could onto the outside deck, looking over the endless sea, and of course recreated that famous Jack and Rose scene from the Titanic. Those are the moments they'll probably remember forever. As evening settled in, we stood quietly along the rail watching Italy slowly disappear behind us, behind the sunset. The coastline stretched farther and farther into the distance until it eventually blended into the horizon. Then there was nothing, just water. That night we slept somewhere between countries, between what we'd left and what we hadn't yet reached. The next morning, I stepped back onto the deck, and off in the distance, there it was, the coastline of Greece. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, it grew larger until mountains, villages, harbors began taking shape. It struck me how people traveled this way for thousands of years, long before airplanes, before highways. They'd watch one shoreline disappear before trusting that another would eventually appear. Life often feels like that. Sometimes one chapter ends before the next one begins. A career ends before the next opportunity arrives. A relationship changes before healing comes. A dream falls apart before a new purpose becomes clear. Those lessons can feel unsettling because all we can see is open water. Isaiah 43:2 says, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you." I love that God didn't promise we'd avoid the water. He promised His presence in the middle of it. And looking back, I think that's where faith grows the most. Not when both shores are visible, but when you're surrounded by nothing except water and still trust that you're headed somewhere. Sometimes the old shoreline has to disappear before you can fully appreciate the new one that's coming into view. If this episode encouraged you, I'd love for you to follow Summit After the Storm podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube, or wherever you listen. Season 4 follows our family's journey across Europe, discovering timeless lessons from history, culture, faith, leadership, and family. Every destination has a story. Every story has a lesson. Until next time, keep climbing. Poly poly.